Whenever someone asks you to describe a game, most of the time, you're comparing it to another game. But I've noticed that people have been going out of their way to distance Gray Zone Warfare from Escape from Tarkov. And while I understand why, it's really not that helpful. Now, before y'all instantly hit that dislike button and go to the comments and tell me how wrong I am, hear me out, because the comparison isn't degrading Gray Zone Warfare or even elevating Escape from Tarkov. I'm going to demonstrate just how alike these two games are, but in doing so, also demonstrate how little changes can dramatically change what a game looks like. Alright, so I understand as of right now, Gray Zone Warfare has a lot of positive feelings directed towards it, and among those individuals who are anticipating its release, typically there's a more negative connotation towards Escape from Tarkov. Because I am actively comparing the two, the impulse is to get defensive because the comparison is seen as degrading Gray Zone Warfare. But in reality, it demonstrates just how close Escape from Tarkov came from being something completely different. So let's just go over all of the game mechanics that the games share just to illustrate my point. Bear in mind, I am focusing on the mechanics that actually make a big impact on how the game is played. For starters, both are Milsim first-person shooters. That in and of itself brings with it a bunch of micro mechanics packaged together but build a specific feel on how you approach the game. How you shoot, move, and make decisions have a particular distinction over arena shooters, for example. Both have looting. UI comparisons notwithstanding, looting NPCs, POIs, and other players is a big part of the game. Both have persistent character inventory and progression. From one raid to another, what you hold on to and what you bring back carries over continuously. Both have loss of gear on death. There are plenty of Milsim FPSs out there, but many have loadouts that stick with you after dying. Both have in-depth health systems. The majority of Milsim FPS shooters still have linear HP mechanics even if they don't display a traditional HP bar. Both have a PvEVP setup. This means that it's not just a Blue 4 versus Op 4 situation. You will have multiple active threats from various types of enemies, where most are a threat to each other as well. Both have traders and trader progression through mission completion and player XP. And finally, both have extracts. Now, you might say that because Gray Zone Warfare has a in-server fob and not a menu, that makes it different. Well, based on the info that we have as of right now, when you are in the fob, you are under no threat, and once you stash something, it's under no risk of loss. Effectively, that's the same as a menu. Alright, so now let's go over the biggest differences and see how long that list really is. But first, if you've made it this far, I must be entertaining you. You should consider subscribing. Thank you so much for your consideration, and now back to the video. The biggest differences Gray Zone Warfare has that have the biggest impact on the game is that it has a single large map, friendly players that aren't directly in your squad, and a heavier lean into PvE. Now that's a short list, but to demonstrate how impactful those changes are, if you added these to Tarkov and removed all the hackers of course, the two games would be nearly identical. Which is to say, what is different makes a huge impact. Now it would sound like I just undermined my own argument, but did I? If you had to describe what Gray Zone Warfare is, in theory of course because it's not released, how would you do it in the least amount of words possible and not use Tarkov as an example? As I've talked about before, mechanics make the game. When you start describing a game, you start with the closest comparison and then go from there. The reason you do that is because it saves time and increases clarity, especially if it's a game in which the person you're talking to is also familiar with. Gray Zone Warfare looks like Tarkov, but leans more into PvE, has a single large map, and instead of just a free-for-all for squads, there's 3 factions with 4 squads each. What other game comes close to being that efficient when helping to describe Gray Zone Warfare? Put it down in the comments if you can think of one. Now this is not to say Tarkov is only a few easy changes from being potentially as great as Gray Zone Warfare aims to be. The necessary work and vision to make these changes would be a lot. That's not to be dismissed. But saying the two games are nothing alike is way off base and only serves to confuse the issue. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate your time, thank you for watching, and good hunting.